Indian Railways is slowing down on its social service and fast tracking the commercial aspects. Why? Because if you have traveled recently, you would notice that there are more number of Vande Bharat trains, high-speed rails, Tejas Express, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, there are also more AC coaches than sleeper ones. So you should ask these questions. 1. How many people really travel through AC coaches versus non-AC coaches? How much money does the railway earn through these compartments? Third, what is the impact on ground on passengers traveling from the second class or non-AC sleeper coaches? And fourth, who will be the winner and losers in this entire journey? All this in this episode. Stay tuned. I'm your host Swapnil Karkare. But before proceeding ahead, just a small reminder to like, share and subscribe this channel, and also if you can support me on the link given in the description. Your support matters a lot. Thank you. Now let's go back to the episode. So the first question, how many people travel from AC coaches and non-AC coaches? According to the railway board's rules, there will be 12 general and non-AC compartments and 8 AC coaches in the train of 22 total coaches. In June 2022, there was new circular, and according to that circular, number of AC coaches will be increased from 8 to 15 and non-AC coaches will be reduced from 12 to 5. Now let us have a long-term view of it. This is a chart from the print which shows a comparative analysis of how the total seats were distributed in 2012 versus 2022. This is the distribution of total seats in Indian Railways. That means some trains have sleeper classes, some might not have that, they would have instead seating chair car. So it's the total seats with the railways. Here you can clearly see that the proportion has changed significantly in favor of AC 3 tier and against sleeper class. Then we will talk about how much the seats have increased in percentage terms over the last 10 years. Here's the chart. Overall total number of seats according to this report has increased by 42.6% over the last 10 years. Of all the classes, there has been a massive jump in AC 3 tier which rose from 2.7 lakh seats by March 2012 to 7.2 lakh seats by March 2022. The sleeper class had more than 10 lakh berths in 2012, which increased by about 32% to 14 lakh by 2022. Similarly, the number of seats in the second class has increased by about 23% from about 15 lakhs in 2012 to 18.4 lakhs in 2022. Of the total 12.7 lakh seats added over these 10 years in non-suburban trains, more than one-third went to AC 3 tier coaches. But wait, before you draw any conclusions from this data, there are two things that we have to take care of. Number one, what is the ideal scenario? The ideal scenario is to see all trains with AC compartments. And I think you would agree because it is useful and convenient, and given the rising temperatures, it is also required. Also, if there is an increase in demand for AC coaches, it kind of reveals that people can pay more money for AC coaches. That means people have more money to travel comfortably. That also means that it is a good sign of a progressing economy. Correct? There is another point here. In the last 10 years, you would have seen our railway stations shining more. Trains are getting spick and span and journeys are becoming more comfortable. This also means that due to better facilities, more number of people are traveling from train. This possibility cannot be ignored, because if things would have been same or things would have gone down, then people might have chosen cars, buses or even flights for that matter. But more number of trains are introduced and better facilities are introduced, and that can be one of the reasons why more number of AC coaches are introduced. Unfortunately, we cannot find the exact relationship of this decision, as in whether there was already existing demand for AC compartments and therefore more AC compartments are introduced, or because more AC compartments are there, people are coming and traveling. So that relationship can be both ways, and we don't have enough data to understand how that relationship is working. But yes, this is what the ideal scenario should look like, that there should be more AC trains, and that's what even the railways want. As in, for the economy, for the country as a whole, this is usually an ideal scenario, that we should have better facilities and better trains, right? But now there is second point that we have to consider. How much people do really travel from these compartments? AC versus non-AC. So the data is an eye-opener over here. Let's check it out. From April 2023 to October 2023, total 390 crore passengers travel from Indian Railways. Okay. Now, out of them, 95% travel from non-AC or general coaches, and only 5% travel from AC coaches. Just 5%. So all these facilities are made for that 5%. 95% of people are choosing the same old general bogies. Now the second question. How much money does the railway make from these compartments? The answer is not surprising. You will also agree that the railways will be making more money from AC coaches than the non-AC coaches, right? And that's what we can see in this data. In 2022, the Indian Railways earned more than 37,000 crore rupees from passenger business in non-suburban journeys. Out of that, close to 1/3 came from third AC class. If we compare it with the share it had in 2012, then that share has doubled. In 2012, it was 17%, and now it is close to 32%. And the picture of sleeper class is completely opposite. Their shares were around 70% in 2012, and now they have dropped to 54%. It still contributes the highest, but its importance has decreased. According to the latest data, in FY24, AC class passengers, which includes chair car, AC 2-tier, 3-tier, and first class, accounted for 11% of passengers and contributed to 50% of the total revenue. Now we come to the third question. What is the impact on ground on passengers traveling from second class or sleeper classes? For them, overcrowding, ticketless traveling, and unhygienic train journey is common. See, the problems are not new, right? But going ahead, things might get worse. How? Let us see. Mint article puts a really good question. If the railways overestimated growth in AC travel and increased the share of AC coaches accordingly, the slower growth in non-AC coaches relative to non-AC passengers growth could increase in overcrowding. But there is another issue that occurs before boarding a train, and that is waitlist. See, people in second and sleeper class are not able to get confirmed tickets, which result in more waiting list. According to an RTI inquiry, and which was reported by The Hindu, in 2023, railways cancelled more than 5 crore 26 lakh waiting list tickets, and the cancellation charges in total were around 500 crore rupees. So they are earning more in cancellation charges also. So this kind of data actually tells us the demand supply situation. If the demand is higher and supply is less, there will be more waiting list, right? Because there is a shortage of compartments, shortage of seats. Now that means there is still enough demand for non-AC coaches, but the railways is trying to do something else, which is increasing the number of AC coaches. So there is a disparity, and that needs to be addressed. How that can be addressed? Currently, the railways is in a very difficult situation because they want to earn more money because of it's not that earning money is a bad thing. Obviously, it is required, it is necessary, because you can increase your operations, you can increase more facilities to the passengers, and so on and so forth. There are merits to it, and that's a valid reason for earning money. And that's why the railways has taken this stance of increasing AC coaches. But on the other hand, there is still demand for non-AC coaches. The usual strategy is to charge higher for upper class people and low for lower class people, and that kind of works better because you cross subsidize it, right? You earn more from first AC or second AC and third AC, but you keep the fares lower for the general classes, and that's how the finance maths work. But here, after some point, you cannot increase the charges for AC passengers, because after some point there will be some upper limit to it, right? Otherwise, it will equate to the flight tickets, and that is not what the government wants or any passenger also want, right? Otherwise, I would just travel via a plane instead of taking a train. But that is also another constraint. So there are two constraints the railways is fighting. One is to get optimum revenue from the AC coaches, but at the same time maintain that parity of flight fares and railway fares. So this is kind of tricky situation. Currently, what the railways has thought about this solution is to bifurcate trains between premium and non-premium trains. You have seen a lot of announcements of premium trains like Vande Bharat, Tejas, and so on and so forth. So ultimately, this solution will kind of bring in a class divide between two trains, right? Say for example, I have to travel from Mumbai to Lucknow, and in that there will be two types of trains. One will be premium train and one will be non-premium train. In such a situation, government is risking the financial maths also. The same risk of overestimating AC passengers will come into play. In such a scenario, we will have one premium train running at say 50-60% capacity and the other non-premium train running beyond its capacity. And in case of say traffic jams, premium trains will be given priority. Yes, so there is some kind of problem over here for non-AC passengers. And if there is more premiumization, this particular situation will aggravate. And now we come to the last question. Who are the winners and losers in this game? The winner is obviously the Indian Railways, who at some point in time become profitable through charging more fares to AC passengers. Then there is another kind of winners who are middle class and upper middle class people who like to take selfies while traveling through Vande Bharat and all the fancy trains. The loser is, however, the non-AC passenger, which actually account for 95% of all the passengers. So this is a clear-cut bifurcation of who will be the winners and losers in this entire new policy of Indian government. So in conclusion, I agree that India requires a lot of infrastructure development and a massive infrastructure upgrade also. Ideally speaking, I would love to travel through Vande Bharat Express everywhere, right? But the reality is different. Vande Bharat actually means praising the nation, which is India or Bharat. But unfortunately, this Vande Bharat train is not made for the so-called Bharat, that is the poor or the rural India. Frankly, I don't like to make such kind of classification of the names India and Bharat. I feel both are same, but in politics and in business, you often refer to India as urban or rich and Bharat as poor or rural. This kind of classification I don't like, but here it becomes important since politics is the country is such. Therefore, the trains are not made for the Bharat. We must not be delusional about India's progress. India is still a poor country. Yes, with a lot of potential to progress and develop. But if we focus more on economic development, economic growth, then automatically people's incomes will increase and they will be able to pay for higher class AC coaches. But the reality is something different, right? So instead of focusing currently on profits of Indian Railways, we have to think about mobility, which is efficient, safe, hygienic, That should be the priority. Yes, in parallel, we have to keep on developing the other so-called premium trains or premium experiences. But we should understand the proportion of the population using one particular service and who are using the other service. Therefore, it is very important for us to think about those 95% of population who rely on Indian Railways for traveling from one place to another, and I feel their journeys should be also similar like ours. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you like what I'm doing, please do support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Also, there is a link in the description where you can produce this show. So, thank you and see you next week.